Hey guys, it's Rod with Civil Advantage Firearms Training. Thanks for joining me again. So finally, after all this time, 6 months worth, I'm ready to do a review of my Olympic Arms AR15. This was the replacement to the old Norinco that died a long, slow death, as you guys may remember. But this review is going to be really short. But I couldn't do a review on an AR-15 unless I, ran it for at least 6 months. So it's been 6 months. It's been 2,500 rounds, probably a little bit over that. Sometimes I forget to fill in the shooter's log, but I think I can actually comment on this. So this is going to be a relatively short review because, man, there's a million reviews of AR-15s and there's trillions of AR-15s around. So, and I don't need anyone in the comment to go, there's not a trillion AR-15s. So, now here's the thing, I got this. It was Scott over at International Shooting Supplies, a good friend of mine that hooked me up with this rifle. They've been bringing these in. They come from Washington State. Olympic Arms themselves have been making AR-15s for 37 years. I think they're the second oldest manufacturer of AR-15s in the world, right behind Colt, I believe. Something like that. If I got that wrong, I apologize for that. But they make all the major parts in-house. Like, they make this gun in-house, the whole thing. So kind of interesting that way. What they're known for are their barrels. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the gun real quick, what makes it maybe a little bit different from other ARs. Then I'm going to talk about reliability, and I'm going to wrap it up. AR-15s, as you guys know, are very well understood. They've been made since the late 50s. They should be reliable. They should be perfect. So that's keep that in mind as we go through this thing. So what's different maybe about the Olympic Arms is it's got this heavy barrel, and they're known for their barrels. They make them themselves, and they make them really, really well. They are not chrome lined. There's some debate about chrome lined versus non-chrome lined. In fact, I got an answer directly back from Tom, who's the sales director at Olympic Arms. I'm going to put Tom's response on why they don't chrome their barrels in the description box. You can see his words directly, which is kind of interesting because I'm not a gunsmith. I don't know about that kind of stuff, right? So it was interesting information. So when this thing comes out of the box, it's a flat top. It's called the Olympic Arms PPFT. So it's got a flat top receiver. It's got a flat top gas block here in the front. Well, that's great. Now I can put flip up sights on there. Awesome. But it came with the traditional M16 style handguard on it. And so that came off right away. Not that there's anything wrong with that if you're into the classic look, but I need a quad rail on there. So I pulled that off and I found out that this barrel's like stinking this thick when it goes into the receiver. So that's something I wasn't used to, because my old AR, as you guys know, was the Chinese one. It had a 14.5-inch barrel, so a little bit shorter than this guy. So anyway, it was chamfered. That took a little bit of weight out of it, but that barrel on the Norinco was the same diameter all the way into the receiver. And it made for a really nice light gun, but that gun, after 15 rounds, that thing started to smoke, right? Started to steam off. So this is going to be a little bit different. This barrel is going to last a lot longer, I would imagine. It's going to be more accurate because it's more rigid, and it's really thick. It's going to take a longer period of time for it to heat up, but it's also going to take a longer period of time for it to cool down. So you just kind of give and take with the barrel thickness. But anyway, very robust rifle. A little bit heavier than that last one, but you know what? That's okay. The other thing is that the entire gun is apparently mil-spec. All the aftermarket parts that I put on there, meaning the handguard and of course the rail. I mean, the rails, how can you go wrong on the rail? But the handguard fit on there just like that, so it was perfect. Also, the bolt itself, the bolt is black. Now the bolt is, what is it, phosphate parkerized? As soon as I heard parkerized, I was like, uh-oh, parkerized. I know what parkerized finish looks like on aluminum, and it comes off like flakes of spray paint, right? So I was like, But you know what? This, whatever the process is that they use for this bolt is awesome. I've got 2,500 rounds through this rifle, and when you pull the bolt out, it's barely worn. And of course, it wipes clean just perfectly. All the carbon comes right off it. The only place the carbon doesn't come off, and you guys can help me with this because I'm curious, I have not frog lubed any of my guns. And I hear all these great things about frog lube, but I want to hear from you guys if you have experience. So you guys out there that are familiar with AR-15s, as you know, it's easy to get the carbon fouling off every part of your AR-15 except the gas side of the bolt itself, right? Let me know, guys, if you have experience with frog lube, whether that's easier, because no matter what I put in there, it's always a nightmare getting that gas side of the bolt clean. So that you can help me out if you don't mind. Anyway, other than that, it's fantastic. Let's talk about reliability, and then I'm going to wrap this review up, because that's really all that matters. So, reliability, I'm actually keeping a shooter's log this time. Go figure. So I break out the money for this guy, I take it to the range, and I get failures. So yeah, it was a little bit terrifying. So I took it to the range, I shot 60 rounds. Here's me actually uncasing it, shooting those first few rounds. And then after that, I started to get some failures to fire. So I had a couple of double feeds, which, you know, sometimes you can blame on the magazine. A bad magazine will cause double feeds. But I also had pull the trigger, goes click, full on misfire. I cycle that round out, I pick it up, no primer strike. I had probably 10 of those. Here in the book, I didn't really write, I didn't write 10, but I know for sure there was at least 10. There's some that I didn't write down. So I was terrified. I'm like, holy man, you know, I break out the larger cache, I buy an American-made AR, and now it's failing on me? I don't want a gun that doesn't shoot. It's worthless to me, right? So anyway, I talked to Scott at International Shooting Supplies. I'm like, hey man, what's going on? He's like, there's a break-in period for some of these guns, just keep shooting it. And he was absolutely right, because after the first 500 rounds, this thing has not failed in 2,000 rounds. Not one double feed, not one failure to fire. This thing is rock solid, reliable. So there was a break-in period. I talked to Tom at Olympic there. He said, yeah, there's a break-in period with these guns. I just hadn't seen that before because I didn't have that much experience. I only had 2 other previous ARs. It's not like I was in the military, you know, and was issued back and forth these different guns all the time. So I bet my life that this thing would fire. That's what I got to say. And that's where you need to be with an AR-15 or whatever your primary rifle is. You have to bet your life that that thing's going to fire. Someday, maybe you will be betting your life that that thing fires, right? Who knows? The finish is great. I had no problem. Here's what it used to look like. And I'll also include a little bit of shooting footage. I got some GoPro footage and stuff that's kind of cool at the end. You guys can check that out. But the finish was everything you'd expect from an American-made AR. A buddy of mine that actually served some time in Iraq painted this, did a desert motif on here for me. I don't care, like, to me, guns are tools, right? I don't care about dropping guns. I don't care about scratching them up or whatever. That's what they're for. They're tools. So at least it's not black anymore, because black guns kind of stand out. So I think it looks not bad. Kind of would be at home in the desert. I don't think I'm going to be fighting in the desert anytime soon, though. But let's hope not. Yeah, very happy with the rifle. Completely reliable. You know, what else can you say about an AR-15? So to wrap it up, the guys over at International Shooting Supplies are selling these for $8.99. In the $8.99 area, you can get you have a couple of different American options. You have DPMS, you have a Smith & Wesson M&P 15, if you can get them on sale. If you want to start getting it up, you know, in higher dollar value, you can start looking at Daniel Defense. But I will say this too, by the way, another extra piece of good information is yesterday I was at the range. Someone I was training with brought a brand new Daniel Defense. Beautiful gun, full-length rail, like almost right up to the barrel. It looked really nice. I did an A-B comparison with my rifle at $8.99 with my Olympic, and it was truly indistinguishable. The trigger and the recoil and everything, it was virtually indistinguishable. I couldn't decide which rifle shot better. So that's a big deal. So for $8.99, you know, versus $1,400, I think the Olympic Arms is not a bad deal at all. Hopefully it was helpful. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter, you can at CivilAdvantage1, or you can find us on the web at www.civiladvantage.com. Thanks, and we will see you next time.